Hi friends, welcome to the Unit 1 Day 3 notes. Today focuses on absolute value equations and inequalities. First we're going to be talking about solving absolute value equations, then we're going to be talking about the inequality parts. So we're going to do equations and then inequalities. Equations are a little bit easier to work with. With equations, when we go through and finish, you want to check to make sure that the solutions work. So with absolute values, remember we talked about this earlier, absolute value means distance, so it's how far something is from something else. So because distance is non-negative, we need to keep that in mind as we approach these problems. Solve the equation, check all solutions. So here, we want to isolate the absolute value part. So we're going to just get the absolute value part by itself. So I'm going to subtract 2 on both sides. So I have negative 5 times the absolute value of x minus 7 is equal to negative 15. Now I need to divide by negative 5 on both sides. And then we're left with the absolute value of x minus 7 is equal to 3. So what we're saying here is the distance of some value minus 7 is equal to 3. So because we can be talking about in both the positive direction and then also the negative direction on number line, so either way, we have to account for having both those scenarios. So by essentially what we do is we break this up into two parts where we have one going the negative direction and one going the positive direction. Again, we're talking about this being distance in as terms of direction, going the negative. So this is the negative 3 direction, and then this is the positive 3 direction. Positive 3, we don't change the sign. If this was an inequality, this is also where we would flip the inequality. We'll see that here in a bit. So I add 7 to both sides. Also add 7 to both sides here. So I get x equals, in this case, 4. And then x equals 10. So what you can do is you can plug these values back in to make sure they work. I'm going to show you for this example here. And then we want to just make sure that this, in fact, does work. So negative 5 times the absolute value of 4 minus 7 plus 2 equals negative 13. So again, if I go through and simplify this, negative 5, absolute value of negative 3 plus 2 equals negative 13. Negative 5 times 3. The absolute value of negative 3 is 3 because distance. Plus 2 equals negative 13. So negative 15 plus 2. And negative 13 does in fact equal negative 13. Similarly with 10, if I plug that in, it's very similar except I get a positive 3 instead. Swimming through with number 2, what we have here is, again, isolate the absolute value part by itself. So we're going to get that by itself. Then I add 9 on both sides. So I have the absolute value of 5 minus 2/3 x is equal to 17. Again, splitting up into its two parts. So going the negative direction is equal to negative 17. And 5 minus 2/3 x equaling positive 17. So for this one, I'm going to subtract 5 on both sides. Negative 2/3 x equaling negative 22. This one, subtract 5 on both sides. Get negative 2/3 x is equal to 12. To get rid of the negative 2/3, so we want to multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 3/2. So when I do that, all this cancels and left with just x equals negative 22. Let's see, if I divide by 2, that's 11. 11 times 3 is 33. So I got x equals 33. And then similarly over here, same idea. Multiplying by negative 3/2 on both sides. So I get x equals, and in this case, 6, so negative 18. Again, verify that those are in fact solutions, and they work. For number 3, as we go through and do this, I see a lot of students just jump in and start following procedures and not really thinking about what's going on here. Well, what does absolute value mean? Absolute value means distance, and so I'm saying the distance of this is negative. Can the distance be negative? Is that even possible? Can the distance be negative? Can we have a negative distance? And the answer is no, you can't have negative distance. You can't drive your car a negative amount. You can't bike negative miles. You can't walk negative miles. So this is no solution. A lot of students will want to write no real solution. That's not true either. This has no solution. You can't have negative distance. What I'm asking you to do is to do something that's impossible. You can't do it. This is impossible. Join me in the next video where we go over the next part and jumping into absolute value inequalities. Have a great day.